Jon Jones lied. He told us that he would be fighting Tom Aspinall given the money makes sense for him. But in this video, I'll show you that it's not about the money. It's completely and purely by the fact that he thinks he's going to lose to Tom Aspinall. He just said that to get some cheers out of the crowd, have a badass moment, and have some spotlight on himself. But really, right after the fight ended, he went backstage, told us he's not doing the fight no matter what, and he just gave us some bullshit reasons to why he wouldn't be taking the fight. Dana White is out here afterwards telling us how much sense this fight makes, how huge it would be, and we're going to get right into it right now.
So moving forward, what do you do? Like, as obviously you said you want him to fight Tom next, and you said that could be just be the biggest heavyweight fight of all time.
It will be.
Yeah. And John was on the post-fight thing. He he said he wants to be well compensated because he saw what Jake and Mike.
He will be.
Dana White thinks this will be the biggest heavyweight fight of all time, which includes fighters like Stipe Miocic, Cain Velasquez, all the way back to the days of Brock Lesnar. And if you think about it, maybe this wouldn't do the pay-per-views that Brock Lesnar did, but Brock Lesnar wasn't generating this kind of revenue in terms of how much UFC is selling tickets, sales-wise, how much sponsorship money they're getting, all these different avenues of money they have right now. This would be the biggest fight that would make them the most money, main evented by two heavyweights. By far, and if anything, this is not about the money. Dana White just said he would be well compensated, Jon Jones that is, for his fight against Tom Aspinall, meaning he would get a lot of money, probably even more than he's made right now, which makes sense. But Jon Jones doesn't want the fight, and if you look at the pay-per-view shares, Jon Jones would probably get pay-per-view shares on top of everything else, which would do more pay-per-views. I guarantee you anything, that fight has more pay-per-views than the Stipe Miocic fight did, by far. But you know why Jon Jones is asking for FU money, as he says it later on, which I'll show you guys? It's because he knows there's no way Dana White gives him $30 million, which is FU money, because basically what it translates to is Anthony Joshua money. And I bet you anything, he's not asking for $30 million to fight Alex Pereira. No, he'll be like, oh no, I'll settle for 7 or 8, because he knows it's an easy payday. And later on, Dana White himself says there's no way he makes this fight. And I'll show you that in a second. But yeah, just a massive duck. He knows he would lose. It's nothing to do with the money. But the thing is, if the fight never happens, Jon Jones can always just blame it on the money and be like, oh, well, the money didn't make sense for me for the risk that I was taking. And later on, Jon Jones himself says he doesn't want to fight any dangerous up-and-comers. He wants to fight old, grizzled veterans, which are just code words for guys with no takedown defense. Let's continue.
Yeah.
You say that Jon and Tom has the potential to be the biggest heavyweight fight of all time. Is that a fight that you think you could go against your normal rules and go for a stadium?
Listen to what Dana White has to say here. He basically says it's not just the biggest... let's let him say it.
It doesn't have the potential to. It's going to be. It's going to be the biggest heavyweight fight ever. It'll probably be the biggest fight we've ever done. Now,
is Dana White glazing a little bit? Yes. It's not going to be the biggest fight that you've ever done. It's not going to be bigger than Khabib Conor. It's not going to be bigger than some of the Conor fights. But I think this fight does over 1 million pay-per-view buys. Like, think about it, right? Jon Jones has gone his entire career without losing. Now, he puts that streak up against Tom Aspinall, a young, hungry up-and-comer who has knocked out, in the first round, the majority of the top 5 of the heavyweight division and the top 10. You're telling me that the biggest threat Jon Jones has ever had wouldn't do over 1 million buys? I think the Daniel Cormier pay-per-view did almost 1 million buys. I think this would top that. This would be a huge pay-per-view for the UFC. And would make Tom Aspinall a star. It would probably put more money in Jon Jones' pocket because of the pay-per-view shares that he's ever had before. But I don't think Jon Jones cares about money. He's got too much money as it is. He's made millions upon millions for every single fight he's had for the last 10 years, I think. There's no way that the money is the reason Jon Jones is not taking the fight. And listen to this. Now Dana White basically tells us there's no way he's making the Alex Pereira fight, because it would just be a gimmick fight, a gimme fight, for Jon Jones to have a bullshit claim to being the GOAT and just ragdoll a former middleweight, in all honesty.
No.
No? Okay.
You know what tonight told me? There's no fucking way I make the Pereira fight.
Okay.
Why, Dana? I thought it would be a competitive fight.
Okay.
Jon's too big. Great wrestler. See how he took Stipe down in that first round?
So you're telling me a heavyweight fighting a former middleweight doesn't make sense? Well, what a crazy concept you just came up with. You're telling me a former kickboxer who only started grappling in mixed martial arts about 3 to 4 years ago, fighting one of the biggest, most, honestly, maybe he doesn't have the credentials for it, but he might be one of the best wrestlers that we've ever seen. Like, Daniel Cormier could do nothing with him. He basically just pushed Stipe to the ground. You're telling me that style versus Alex Pereira just wouldn't make sense? What?
Yeah. I like Alex Pereira. I like him personally. You know,
But
it
he's
just
the greatest of all time, right?
it just doesn't make sense to make that fight. If they both want it bad enough and they're both fucking hounding me or something, maybe I would do it. It's
Dana White saying this basically, okay, first of all, he says he doesn't make any sense, which it doesn't make any sense, by the way. Alex Pereira is doing just fine in the light heavyweight division. Leave him there. But on the other hand, if they both pester him enough, is basically code for if Jon Jones refuses to do business with Tom Aspinall, maybe I'll have to make this fight just so we don't let Jon Jones, like, earning power just go away for nothing. His star power, his drawing power. That's basically what this is implying, if we're being all honest.
just Alex Pereira is killing it. Look at his age and what he's doing right now. What's the reason to go up and fight a guy that's so much bigger than you and such a good wrestler?
None, other than the fact you just want to... I mean, even Dana White doesn't want to just give Jon Jones fake legacy. Only Jon Jones is pushing for this fake legacy against fights against Jamahal Hill and Derrick Lewis, just so he can have some names on his resume and say, well, look at all the guys he knocked out. Derrick Lewis, the greatest KO artist in UFC history. Jamahal Hill, a fat welterweight, in all honesty. Oh, look at these people I've beaten.
What is it?
Money.
Money?
Gotta
Yeah, no, yeah. No, you're right. That's definitely a reason. But just so we're clear, I don't want to make any of that kind of money. I want.
Dana White, knowing that Jon Jones is he's a draw, right? He's not the biggest draw, but he's a draw. He doesn't want to make money off of him fighting Alex Pereira in nonsensical fights full of fake legacy, fake title defenses, fake former champions, and fake heavyweights. Let's be honest here, fake heavyweights. Because Jon Jones' entire legacy at light heavyweight towards the second half of it was a lot of either fat middleweights or unathletic light heavyweights. Let's be honest here. Or washed.
Want Pereira to stay where he is and do what he does and, you know, run the street. But again, if they go crazy on me and they want to do it, then what am I going to do? They're grown-ass men.
Code word for Jon Jones refuses to fight anyone else. Threatens retirement. Have to get a fight out of him. That's what I'll do. Is basically what he said. Now let's go to Jon Jones and listen to some of the reasons why he won't be fighting Tom Aspinall. All bullshit, by the way. Just heads up. Let's listen to some of this nonsense.
The Tom fight, you want to be well compensated. Dana said his quote was, "He will be, but he knows you're going to
Look at Jon Jones' face like, will I now?
disappear. He probably won't hear from you. We won't hear from you." And then
Fake smile.
when you want to talk, you'll quote emerge and talk with Dana and Hunter. So I guess what is your plan moving forward for the next few weeks?
I'm not really worried about the Tom fight. I'm really worried about the Pereira fight.
He's worried about a fight that hasn't been talked about, hasn't been negotiated, no one's asking for, in all honesty. That's the fight he's worried about. You're not worried about shit. Honestly, I've switched sides. I hope Ankalaev beats Pereira. Because if he does that, the options for Jon Jones dwindle significantly. I bet you anything, Ankalaev versus Pereira, Jon Jones is in the crowd and afterwards is calling out Ankalaev for a champion versus champion fight. Well, you guys said he didn't have any grappling, so I'll fight Ankalaev for some fake legacy. He's a good grappler, right? Shut up, John. Let the light heavyweights be light heavyweights. You were light heavyweight. Why'd you move up if you just want to fight light heavyweights? You're telling me you needed 3 years to get fat so you could be in the right size to fight Derrick Lewis?
That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do, and I think if the UFC wants to have me back, then I think that's the fight they'll make.
If the UFC wants to have you back, what's that? That's such a passive-aggressive line. Like, if they want to have me back, well, this is what's going to happen. What do you mean? So you're going to retire if you don't get... You would make more money from the Tom Aspinall fight from pay-per-view shares. How stupid are you?
I've been really clear about my intentions. That's what I want, and I mean, I just feel like anybody would understand at this point. Like, I'll retire the heavyweight belt if I have to.
He will give up his title if he has to. If they make him fight Tom Aspinall, a heavyweight in the division that he's a part of, the interim heavyweight, the guy that gets the next title shot historically, that's what the belt represents. He'll just give the belt up. If that's the fight that makes sense, then I guess me having the belt doesn't make any sense, apparently.
It's like, dude, give the guy what he wants at the end of the day, you know? And I'm not talking to Dana directly. I feel like I'm at a place now where, you know, like I want to take what I find to be super fights.
You versus Tom Aspinall is literally the biggest fight in the heavyweight division. It's the biggest fight in the light heavyweight division. There isn't a single fight in the UFC right now outside of Conor McGregor with more fanfare, with more hype, with more money to be made through pay-per-view sales. Not Khamzat, not Adesanya. I wouldn't be surprised if you call that Adesanya, in all honesty, now to think about it. Not Adesanya. Who else is there? Islam, you name it. Sean O'Malley, I don't think so. Ilya even. None of these fights are as hyped as you versus Tom Aspinall. That's the most hyped fight outside of a Conor McGregor fight.
I don't want to fight dangerous up-and-comers anymore. I want to...
So basically what you told us earlier on was you want to have legacy fights that mean a lot for your legacy. Usually if you want to have a legacy fights, they're usually dangerous fights which you can potentially lose. That's why you gain legacy. You fighting Stipe did nothing for your legacy. If someone didn't think you were the GOAT, that doesn't change their mind. If someone thought you were already the GOAT, then they can just keep being delusional. I'm just kidding. But, I mean, here's an argument, but steroids, fat middleweights, didn't beat any good names for like almost 5 years straight. But anyway, I guess you don't want legacy fights then. I guess that was just a lie.
fight dangerous, established champions.
Dangerous established champions like Jamahal Hill and Derrick Lewis. And Alex Pereira, to be fair.
So Tom can have the heavyweight championship. I don't really care about it.
So the thing that represents legacy, being the best heavyweight on the planet, don't care about it. Okay, you're making a lot of sense right now, John. Really contradicting yourself here, buddy.
That my value doesn't lie in belts anymore. I've created something much bigger.
No, you haven't. You versus Derrick Lewis would not be the main event of a pay-per-view. No one would give a fuck. You would literally be a feature fight. If not, no, you wouldn't go. No, he'd be the feature fight. Or the co-main event, I suppose. That's something they could do for like a weaker card. Let's hear some more. Let's hear him quack a little bit more.
Ever, then I'm cool with that. That was the front of my president. Man, if that was my last fight ever, then I'm cool with that. That was the way to do it. I did the Donald Trump. That was the way to do it, man. So
he's happy retiring, basically, is what he's saying. He's threatening. He's began the negotiation process already. Let's be honest here.
I think one of the really good things about negotiating is being willing to walk away from a deal, and that's the deal that I want. And if that's not what the fans want, then I guess I'll say sayonara.
Sayonara, John. So apparently, the thing that the fans want is not the thing that makes sense to you, so you'll just say sayonara. In which case, bye-bye. I'm sorry, just go away then. If you just want bullshit fights that just take up spots on the pay-per-view card and draw... Honestly, what do you think's going to happen in the fight week of you versus Derrick Lewis, or you versus Jamahal Hill, or you versus Alex Pereira? You don't think the comment section's all just going to be like, oh, well, what about Tom? Tom's just going to be in the crowd, just sitting out. You know what Dana White should do? Be a Giga Chad alpha move. Make Aspinall versus Pereira in the heavyweight division. And if Tom Aspinall beats Pereira, he can literally just say, that's the guy you wanted? I just smashed him in the first round. I took him down. I did to him what you were hoping to do to him. If you want to fight John, I'll be waiting. While Jon Jones is just in the crowd, just doing the that he does. The unimpressed face that fighters put on. Sayonara, John. There's some more quacking he does in a little bit. Let me just get to that part before I turn this video off. Before I go into a fit of rage. It's really frustrating just seeing Jon Jones not give the fans... Like, it's one... Like, Conor McGregor came back to fight Khabib. Like, all these champions have taken on these dangerous up-and-comers. Like, they've all... And if they haven't, like GSP left the sport after Johnny Hendricks, guess what? He didn't come back and then just say, oh, well... you know what? GSP actually had an out. Because Jon Jones did the same thing. They both lost to their opponents, Hendricks, Reyes. Instead of rematching them, they both moved up. They both took years off. GSP, though, after beating Bisping, not wanting to fight a lot of the middleweight contenders, let's be honest here, decided he's going to hang it up and never came back to the sport. I'm sorry, Jon Jones. GSP did not go, well, you know what, now that I've beaten Michael Bisping, let me look at who the welterweight champion, not even the champion in this case. Let me fight Darren Till from welterweight. Let me fight Tyron Woodley from welterweight. Oh, and by the way, they have to move to middleweight to fight me. I'm not fighting them at their division anymore. Move up. He didn't look at a washed middleweight, someone like, I don't know, someone and say, oh, I'm just gonna fight him next. No, like Dan Henderson didn't say, oh well, I'll take a old retired Dan Henderson fight. Like you want Derrick Lewis, you idiot.
Coming up with Jon Jones t-shirts.
Oh, by the way, he's telling us why he's not gonna fight Tom Aspinall and why he's been such an asshole to him. So let's listen.
Buying a little duck and just the little shit that he does. He's annoying to me.
You know that shit that kids do that like you wouldn't even find annoying. You'd be like, oh, what are kids like? Like, you know, like someone does that to you on the street, you just laugh at them. You're like, oh, dude, you're such a cringe lord. Get away from me. Like that, just little stuff that wouldn't actually stop you from making the biggest payday of your entire life. Oh, anything like that, obviously. But just stuff like that, that would just like, you know, make me retire. Like, I'd rather retire than fight someone. Let's just have a duck quacking in front of this camera. That's just not, it doesn't work for me and my legacy and the respect that I deserve. TV Merchers made fun of you, like, called out you and your relationship with your kids. That wasn't enough for you to shut that fight down, was it? No. But Tom Aspinall quacking a little duck, having a shirt with your face on it, probably. Ah, well, you know, that's just gone too far, apparently.
He's annoying to me, and that's my own personal. He annoys me. I get to you guys, you find it.
He annoys me. He just said that specifically, so it's like, okay, you guys won't understand, but I'm Jon Jones. Like, he annoys me, and I'm in a position where I can do what I want. If someone does, if I don't like it, I don't have to, you know, touch it.
Entertaining, but I find him annoying, and I just don't like him. And at the end of the day,
Usually, if you find someone annoying, you don't like them, that's great promo material for a fight. I mean, Colby Covington and Masvidal fought each other, despite the fact they were former teammates, they used to live together, they were best friends, then they had a falling out, didn't like each other. You know what that meant? That didn't mean, oh, well, I'll never make money. I will never make money off each other by not fighting each other. No, that meant, yes, I'll fight you, I'll beat your head in, I'll stomp your head onto the canvas. It's on sight. What we're talking about, with Jon Jones, it's like, oh, well, I don't like him, so I think I might just retire.
I give him the opportunity to fight me. I want to be so compensated. I want to say it. I want that fuck you money, honestly.
But you wouldn't want that with Alex Pereira. Like, what? Like, you understand this is a huge fight, right? Like, you understand the reason you would get a huge amount of money is because it's a huge fight. You versus Alex Pereira isn't. That's why you wouldn't be asking for that kind of money. As well as the fact you know you can beat Alex Pereira, while Tom Aspinall has a far better chance at beating you. You want FU money, you want 30 million Anthony Joshua money, despite the fact for Alex Pereira you probably take $7-8 million. You know what? Maybe he's getting paid ridiculous amounts of money. Maybe it's $10 million. Let's say it's $10 million to fight Stipe, $10 million to fight Cyril Gane to come back to go to heavyweight, $10 million to fight Alex Pereira. It would still be more for Aspinall. You know why? Because pay-per-view points dictate the amount of money you make based on the pay-per-view sales. By far the biggest fight in the UFC outside of Conor McGregor is you versus Tom Aspinall. It's not about the money. It's because you want to have your fake legacy saying you beat all the greats instead of... You know what? You're going to say you beat all the greats that were literally from a weight division below you. Let's be honest, like Vito Belfort, Chael Sonnen. Like some of the guys you beat, they went down to middleweight later on. They were undersized light heavyweight. And then you're finding such offense in the fact, oh, well, we finally found someone that's younger by me from 7 years, like you were to some of the legends you beat back in your heyday. He's heavier than me, like you were back in your heyday. You're telling me you don't want to return the favor? If you beat Tom Aspinall, John, I will make a video. You know what? My opinion means a lot around these parts. I'll make a video saying you are the greatest fighter of all time if you discount steroid abuse. That's what's at stake. If you beat Tom Aspinall, you have cleared out the UFC. Not your division, not just an era of your division. You've cleared out the UFC. You beat every single light heavyweight there was to beat. That was a contender. You would have beaten the best prospect heavyweights. The only person you wouldn't have beat, I suppose, you wouldn't have technically cleaned it out, would be Francis Ngannou. But if you retire from the UFC afterwards, just fight Ngannou in like Middle East. And if you get that on your resume, you are by far, undisputedly, not just the greatest MMA fighter of all time, you are probably the greatest combat sports athlete to have ever lived. That's what's at stake. Take the fight, you duck. Quack, quack. Like and subscribe. Jon Jones is a duck. 109 subscribers. Get me to 125. I'll see you next time.